Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afonte with an update on our News 19 weather impact alert. And this is specifically because of Tropical Depression number 3, or if it actually becomes a tropical storm, it would be Tropical Storm Chantal. Here's the latest information and guidance. From Saturday afternoon, it could be Saturday early afternoon or late afternoon, but nevertheless, Saturday, the second half of the day, through Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, and Sunday evening. So that's the time frame that we're looking at, and this is going to be statewide, that rainfall amounts could come up to at least 2 inches of rainfall, and wind gusts 35 on the low end plus. All the information, just stay updated with us on News 19, on air, online, through our social media accounts, and the one that you're watching right now, WLTX Plus on our streaming services. Let your family know, because it's a 4th of July holiday. Everybody is out. Everybody wants to enjoy the weather. Most of us will, at least now through tomorrow, even afternoon. But some of us are going to have to stay weather aware for a good portion of the second half of the weekend. Here's the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. 8 o'clock update. Tropical Depression 3 has winds sustained at 35 miles an hour. Gusting at 45, moving to the north at 2 miles an hour. Really not much has changed as far as the setup, but the one thing that we have noticed is that even though the forward progress is north at 2 miles an hour, the thunderstorm activity, most of it was towards the east and towards the southeast. Now a lot of the activity is more in the southeast to the southern quadrant. The one thing that we're looking at is how much the thunderstorm activity is wrapping around. And you can see there's not that pronounced donut in the middle, and a lot of the thunderstorm activity spinning around it almost looks like a buzzsaw. That's not the case. In fact, the entire northern, western, and most of the southwest, there's really no thunderstorm activity, let alone clouds. So it's very lopsided to the right or to the east. Not very strong, again, only 35 mile an hour gust winds. But the reason why the National the National Hurricane Center has already put this out is because we are within 48 hours, really more like the next 36 hours of landfall. Even if it's not a landfall as a tropical storm, even as a tropical depression, it's going to be moving inland. So let's put it that way. The tropical storm watches right now cover the low country to the Grand Strand. It is only the coastal locations. That's all it is. It does not go coastal inland, let it go anywhere towards I-95. Projections right now have it that it'll strengthen to that moved quickly. It'll strengthen to a tropical storm. In fact, I'll fix that graphic, but while you're looking at this, this is the tropical information of the guidance of where this tropical depression will actually not only make landfall, but the likelihood that it will move into areas that will be along the low country. All the projections right now show that it will eventually come on land at some point Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. It strengthens into a tropical storm. Again, that'll be Chantal. And then by Sunday morning, potentially landfall as a tropical storm with 40 mile an hour sustained winds. So that's Sunday morning. Friday night, so we're within 36 hours more or less of when this comes ashore. By Sunday, as we get into the evening or afternoon, it becomes a tropical depression again with 35 mile an hour winds. And by the time we get into either very late Sunday night or going into very early Monday morning, it crosses over into North Carolina as an area of low pressure. So not only is it a slow mover, but honestly, the way this is set up and its specific location, it is not going to have enough time to generate into a strong tropical storm, or let alone a hurricane. If you want to compare it to Hurricane Ian was already out in the Gulf and on the west shore of Florida. Ian made its way very aggressively across Florida. It was already a hurricane at that point. This is not even a tropical storm. In the dynamics, it's all lopsided. So it's not going to have enough days or time, or let alone warmer waters, before it comes onshore to strengthen anymore. Could this possibly strengthen to a stronger tropical storm? That is a possibility, but as close as it is, I mean, it's about 120 miles to the east of Jacksonville Beach. Now, it's not a lot of time, even though it's crawling at 2 miles an hour. That's the latest projection. Now, the overall scope is the impacts. Let's break it down into sectors. For the Midlands specifically, and we're talking about all of central South Carolina, the wind gusts could get up to 35 miles an hour. So sustained winds, possibly 20 to 25. That's not very windy, but it's staying at 25 miles an hour with wind gusts on and off at 35 miles an hour. That could be a little bit more of an inconvenience. Rainfall up to 2 inches, and that's right smack in the middle of the state. Now, you go towards the coast, that's a little bit different story. First and foremost, because this is coming onshore, the rip currents are going to be a high risk from the Charleston office that covers all of the Low Country, all the way up to the northern part of Charleston County, and then for the Wilmington, North Carolina forecast office that covers all of the Grand Strands from Horry to Georgetown counties. They're indicating a high risk for rip currents starting tomorrow through Sunday. So if you know anybody who's at the beach today, they're enjoying the weather. But the winds are also going to be gusting possibly 45 mile an hour or more. That focus, again, is going to be for the coastline. Here's the overall scope. As Tropical Depression 3, or Chantal, makes its way towards South Carolina, the indication is that as it makes it closer to the Low Country, it's going to start turning to the northwest. So a trajectory goes up I-95. Then when it gets into central South Carolina, it starts turning a little bit more north, and then it'll continue north, almost northeast, passing between 85 and 95 as it makes its way through North Carolina from Fayetteville, very likely up towards at least somewhere in between Greensboro and Raleigh. That makes it by Monday morning. So we're not talking about a very long timeline for here in South Carolina. Looking specifically now, we'll start seeing the wind start to pick up a little bit Saturday morning. A couple of outer bands of maybe showers or storms Saturday midday. It'll be few and far between until we get Saturday night. There's the position. It now starts moving inland. It starts moving along 26, gets to the Columbia metropolitan area, then starts to move north, northeast, somewhere in the northeastern Midlands, crosses out of anywhere in the PD by Sunday late night into Monday morning. So the total time we're talking here is Saturday late afternoon. So even if it was at 7 o'clock in the evening Saturday, by 24 to nearly 30 hours later, it's already in North Carolina, and it's no longer producing any kind of rainfall. Might a little be windy. The overall outlook is that there's no risk for heavy rainfall today. Tomorrow, it covers pretty much along but east of I-95. So everyone from pretty much Marion through Williamsburg, Berkeley, into Dorchester, Colleton, Charleston County, down even to just to the extremes, getting into Beaufort. That is for Saturday. Then Sunday, it expands a little bit more. So now cover pretty much half of the PD, a third, it's almost half of the Midlands, and a good portion of the Low Country and all of the Grand Strand. Everybody from the CSRA to the upstate, really not that much of an impact. Remember where it's going. It's heading first up 26, then pretty much up and along to the east of 77. How much rainfall? As it starts Saturday, going into Saturday night, not that much. In fact, most of the rainfall is going to be in the Grand Strand to at least to Charleston County. So you're talking Horry, maybe even as much as Florence, Charleston, Georgetown counties. They're going to be seeing the heaviest rainfall. For the Midlands, hardly an amount. Let's just say on the high end, maybe a quarter of an inch. Then we get into Saturday overnight into Sunday, and by the time we get to Sunday night, the western half of the Midlands may get upwards, if they're lucky, of maybe a quarter to half an inch. The eastern half of the Midlands could be anywhere from half an inch to pushing 2 inches of rainfall. This may depict Sumter at 1.35, but we can see areas in Lee County that could be 2, or areas of southern Clarendon County that would be close to 2. But the heaviest rainfall, again, is projected to be in the areas of the Grand Strand, portions of the eastern low country and the eastern PD. As of right now, this is for tonight through tomorrow. The National Weather Service, again, for the Charleston office has indicated now a high-risk rip current from, this is pretty much right along the edge of Georgetown and Charleston County. So just before you get, and that's probably going to be, if I remember correctly, that's going to be right around Murrells Inlet, all the way through Isle of Palms, Folly Beach, Edisto, Hilton Head, Fripp Island. All of that is now under a high risk. That is very likely going to continue through Sunday night. A moderate risk now covers, and this is from the Wilmington, North Carolina office, for Georgetown and Horry County coastline. So Myrtle Beach and Pawleys Island, you're under a moderate risk. There's already yellow flags out, as we've seen over at Myrtle Beach. The red flags are now out for everybody else in the low country, so you're not allowed into the water. Even though there's nothing going on right now, this is a preventative as we get ready for the weekend, unfortunately. The winds, again, that's going to be the big thing. So this wind gust may be upwards of 25 to 35 miles an hour in the Midlands. It's going to be higher in the low country, Grand Strand, even the PD, as we make its way through South Carolina. By the time we get to early Monday morning, so sometime after midnight, this at least stops at Sunday evening. Notice the winds coming out of the north-northwest for the most part, but the wind gusts, we're only talking about upwards of 20. It'll still be windy out in the Grand Strand. So we're not very tuned to looking at tropical storm winds, even though we've got a tropical depression. The overall scope is that this is what we're going to be looking at. The focal point will be, first and foremost, the risk for the rip currents for the entire coastline of South Carolina. The other thing is we're going to be looking at is the amount of rainfall potential, because when all is completed and we get to Sunday late night, the biggest impacts are going to be in the eastern Midlands, eastern PD, the far eastern portions of the low country, but all of the Grand Strand. Another update from the National Hurricane Center with an updated track comes in at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll continue the information on air, online, and there'll be constant updates on our social media and on our WLTX page, WLTX.com. Continue keeping you updated and advised. And for now, I'm Chief Meteorologist Efren Afante.